All right, so are you ready to take a peek into the future of digital communities?
Always ready for a glimpse into the future.
You know, you actually sent us this report, The Rise of Digital Communities in 2025, A New Era of Connection. And woo,
Yeah.
after reading this thing, I'm starting to think likes and shares are like ancient history.
Yeah, it is a pretty fascinating shift, isn't it? Like the report paints a picture of online spaces that are way more immersive and integrated into our lives than ever before.
Totally. Like, forget just visiting a website or, scrolling through a feed. We're talking about like inhabiting entire digital worlds. That phrase really jumped out at me.
Yeah, and it's not just hyperbole either. Think about the implications for creativity and collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
The report actually highlights a case study where a global team, so a designer in Tokyo, a writer in Paris, and a marketer in New York, created an entire brand campaign all within a digital community.
Okay, that's seriously cool.
Right.
But it also kind of begs the question WHY now? Like, what's driving this sudden surge in digital collaboration?
Well, the report points to a few key factors. For one, the convergence of diverse skills in these online spaces is creating like a global brain trust.
Ah.
Imagine having instant access to experts from all over the world ready to just brainstorm and problem solve.
I mean, that's got to be a game changer for any project.
Right.
No more waiting for that one specialist to be available.
Exactly.
But does it work in practice?
Apparently, yes. The report dives into the dynamics of these collaborations, and it's not just about having a bunch of smart people in a chat room.
Right.
They talk about instant feedback loops, where ideas are constantly being refined and iterated upon in real time. And then there's this concept of cross-pollination of ideas, which I love, where different disciplines and perspectives collide in unexpected ways, and it leads to these truly innovative solutions.
That makes sense. It's like that saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
But with all of these like huge online communities, do you think that our individual voices get lost in the crowd?
That's where the rise of niche communities comes in. The report actually suggests that we're moving away from those generic one-size-fits-all online spaces and toward smaller, more specialized communities.
So instead of trying to be everything to everyone, these niche communities are laser focused on specific interests or passions?
Exactly. And the report argues that this has several advantages.
Okay.
First, the conversations are much deeper and more meaningful when everyone shares a common interest.
Yeah. It's like finding your people, right?
Exactly.
You can skip the small talk and dive straight into the stuff that really matters to you.
Totally.
But is it just about conversation, or are there other benefits to these niche communities?
Oh, there's so much more.
Okay.
The report highlights how these communities often become hubs for tailored resources. Think articles, tutorials, templates, even funding opportunities, all curated for that specific niche.
That's incredibly valuable. It's like having a personalized knowledge base that's constantly updated by people who are passionate about the same things that you are. And I imagine the networking potential is huge too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're connecting with people who share your professional goals or creative passions,
Right.
and those casual chats can lead to collaborations, mentorship opportunities, even job offers. It's
Yeah.
like the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
But now it's happening online in a much more targeted way.
So if someone listening is thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I even make these digital communities work for me? What's the first step?
Well, the report actually talks about this idea of gamification, using elements of game design to make participation more engaging and, dare I say, fun.
Okay.
Think badges, rewards, leaderboards, even friendly competitions within the community.
Wait, so learning and collaborating can actually feel like a game. Sign me up.
Right.
But seriously, does this gamification thing actually work, or is it just a gimmick?
The reports seem to think it's pretty effective.
Yeah.
Apparently, our brains are wired to respond to those little bursts of dopamine we get from achieving goals or earning recognition.
Makes sense.
So when communities incorporate these game-like elements, people are more likely to stick around, contribute actively, and actually learn something along the way.
It's like tricking our brains into learning. I love it.
I know.
And it makes sense. We're already spending so much time online. Why not make it a more rewarding experience? But all this talk about fun and games, it's making me wonder, what about the more serious side of digital communities?
That's a great point, and it's something the report doesn't shy away from.
Okay.
In fact, there's a whole section dedicated to the role of digital communities in mental health support.
Okay, so how are these online spaces becoming resources for mental health?
Well, for one, they're providing a sense of community and belonging. which can be incredibly valuable for people who are struggling with isolation or loneliness. And because these online spaces often offer a degree of anonymity, it can be easier for people to open up about their challenges and seek support without fear of judgment.
That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like having a safe space to connect with people who understand what you're going through. But is it just about finding support, or are there more structured resources available?
The report actually highlights how some platforms are incorporating dedicated channels for peer support,
Hmm.
sharing links to mental health resources, and even hosting online support groups.
Mm.
It's like having a 247 virtual support network right in your pocket.
That's incredible. It really paints a picture of digital communities becoming these holistic support systems,
Yeah.
not just for fun or work, but for our overall well-being. But I'm curious, with all these positive aspects, does the report gloss over any potential downsides to this digital utopia?
Well, it does acknowledge some potential challenges,
Yeah.
like the echo chamber effect, where you're only exposed to information that reinforces your existing beliefs.
Mm.
But it also suggests ways to combat that, like actively seeking out diverse viewpoints and engaging in respectful dialogue with people who hold different opinions.
So it's not just about finding your tribe, it's also about expanding your horizons and challenging your own assumptions.
Exactly. And another concern the report touches on is information overload. We're bombarded with so much content these days, and it can be overwhelming to keep up with it all. But the report suggests strategies for managing this, like being more intentional about the communities we join and setting boundaries around our digital consumption.
So it's about finding the right balance,
Yeah.
embracing the positive aspects of digital communities while also being mindful of the potential pitfalls. I'm really starting to see these online spaces in a whole new light.
That's what's so fascinating about this report. It really goes beyond the surface level and
Okay.
explores the complex ways these digital communities are impacting our lives, for better or for worse.
Uh,
And speaking of impact, the report section on the future of work is particularly intriguing.
oh, this is where it gets interesting. You mentioned earlier that these online spaces are changing how we collaborate.
Right.
But is it going beyond that? Are they actually shaping how we find and engage in work itself?
Well, the report poses a pretty thought-provoking question.
Mm.
What if your next job came from a community recommendation instead of a resume?
Whoa, that's a radical idea.
Right.
But is that really where things are headed? Are resumes going to become obsolete?
It's definitely a possibility. And the report explores the idea that our digital footprint and community reputation will become even more valuable than our traditional credentials.
Hmm.
It highlights three key trends: remote collaboration skill development through shared knowledge and job opportunities, finding you rather than the other way around.
Let's break those down. You mentioned remote collaboration earlier. Are we talking about working from home in our pajamas?
Well, it's certainly part of it.
Yeah.
But the report goes deeper, arguing that remote collaboration is becoming the norm, not the exception, thanks to these online platforms. Teams can work together seamlessly regardless of location or time zone.
So a designer in Argentina could be working on a project with a developer in India and a project manager in London, all within a digital community.
Exactly. And the report suggests that this trend is only going to accelerate in the coming years. But what about skills development? How are digital communities playing a role there?
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Are we talking about actual learning happening within these online spaces?
Absolutely. The report emphasizes how digital communities are becoming these incredible hubs for knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer learning.
Okay.
You have members with diverse expertise constantly sharing insights, tutorials, and resources.
Mm.
It's like having a built-in mentorship network within your community.
So you could be like a budding graphic designer in a community and get feedback from seasoned professionals from all over the world.
Exactly. And that kind of personalized feedback and guidance is invaluable. You're learning from people who are actively working in your field, not just from textbooks or outdated online courses. And what's even more interesting is this idea of job opportunities finding you about.
Okay, this is the part I'm really curious about. How do jobs magically appear from these communities?
It's not magic, but it's definitely a shift in how we think about job hunting.
Okay.
The report suggests that as you actively participate in these communities, build your reputation, and share your expertise, you become visible to potential employers who are looking for specific skills and experience.
So it's about building your credibility and showcasing your work within these communities rather than just blasting your resume out to everyone.
That's the idea. It's about showcasing your passion, your knowledge, and your willingness to contribute, and that's what attracts the right opportunities.
So, actively participating in these communities is not just a way to learn or connect, it's also a way to build your career. That's pretty amazing. But none of this is possible without the technology that underpins it all, right? What does the report have to say about the tech side of things?
Well, the report calls technology the unsung hero of these thriving online spaces. And it highlights a few key areas where technology is playing a crucial role, like communication platforms, AI insights, and even immersive virtual reality experiences.
Okay, let's start with the communication platforms. What are we talking about here?
Well, the report mentions platforms like Slack and Discord, which are already popular for real-time communication and collaboration.
Right.
They allow communities to create dedicated channels for different topics, share files, host video calls, and basically stay connected 24/7.
So they're like the digital equivalent of a community center.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And the report emphasizes how these platforms are constantly evolving to make the experience more seamless and engaging.
Mm.
They're becoming the virtual backbones of these digital communities.
Yeah.
But it's not just about basic communication.
Okay.
The report also talks about the growing role of AI insights.
AI insights. I'm intrigued, but also a bit intimidated. Are we talking about robots taking over community management?
Not exactly robots,
Okay.
but the report suggests that AI-powered analytics are becoming increasingly important for understanding community dynamics and tailoring the experience for members.
Okay.
AI can track engagement, identify trends, and provide valuable insights into what's working and what's not.
So it's like having a data-driven approach to community management.
Exactly.
But how does that actually translate into a better experience for the members?
Well, the report explains that this data can be used to personalize content recommendations,
Mm.
facilitate connections between people with shared interests, and even identify areas where the community can improve its support or resources.
So AI is like a digital matchmaker, helping people find the connections and resources they need within the community. That's pretty cool. But what about those immersive virtual reality experiences you mentioned? That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the report suggests that VR is becoming increasingly integrated into digital communities.
Oh, wow.
Imagine attending a virtual conference within a community where you can interact with avatars representing people from all over the world, attend presentations, and even explore virtual booths showcasing different products and services.
Whoa, that's next level. But with all this amazing technology, is there a risk that we lose the human connection that makes these communities so special?
That's a really important point, and one that the report addresses directly.
Okay.
It emphasizes that technology should enhance human connection, not replace it. And that brings us to another key aspect of digital communities in 2025, inclusion.
Inclusion. I mean, that's important in any community, but how are digital communities approaching this specifically?
Well, the report states that in 2025, digital communities are all about who belongs. It's not just about connecting with like-minded people. It's about ensuring that everyone has a seat at the table regardless of their background, identity, or abilities.
So it's about creating spaces where everyone feels welcome, respected, and empowered to contribute their unique talents and perspectives.
Exactly. And the report highlights several ways that digital communities are working towards this goal, like incorporating accessibility features,
Hmm.
promoting diverse representation, and expanding their reach to connect with people from all over the world.
That's fantastic. It sounds like these digital communities are not just about technology or trends, they're about creating a more inclusive and equitable world for everyone.
That's a great way to put it. And that wraps up part one of our deep dive into the rise of digital communities in 2025, a new era of connection.
Wow, that was a lot to take in. We've covered everything from the evolution of online spaces to the role of AI and the importance of inclusion.
We have. And in part two, we'll dive deeper into the challenges and opportunities presented by this rapidly evolving landscape.
Until then, I'm curious what stands out to you most from everything we've discussed so far. What's sparking your imagination?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the future of digital communities.
I'm still buzzing from our last conversation. It's amazing to think about how much these online spaces are changing the way we connect, learn, and even work.
It's a pretty exciting time to be plugged into the digital world, that's for sure. But as with any major societal shift, there are also some challenges to consider.
Okay, so let's not sugarcoat things. What are some of the potential downsides to this digital utopia we've been painting?
Well, one of the big ones the report highlights is the echo chamber effect.
Right.
It's this idea that when you're surrounded by like-minded people in a digital community, it can be easy to get stuck in a bubble where you're only exposed to information that reinforces your existing beliefs.
That makes sense. We all have our own biases, and if you're only hearing from people who agree with you, it's easy to become less open to other perspectives. But is that really a problem specific to digital communities? Don't we see echo chambers in real life too?
Absolutely. Echo chambers exist offline as well. But the report argues that digital communities can exacerbate this phenomenon because algorithms often personalize our content feeds, showing us more of what we already like and agree with.
So it's like, oh, those algorithms are feeding our biases even if we don't realize it.
Exactly. And that can make it even harder to break out of those echo chambers and engage with different viewpoints.
Okay, so if we're aware of this potential problem, what can we do to avoid getting trapped in an echo chamber?
Well, the report emphasizes the importance of being proactive. It's about actively seeking out diverse perspectives, even if they make you uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It's about challenging your own assumptions and being open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
So it's about having those tough conversations even in the digital realm.
Exactly. And it's about engaging with people who hold different views in a respectful and constructive way. The report talks about the importance of intellectual humility,
Hmm.
recognizing that we don't have all the answers and being willing to learn from others.
That's a great point. But sometimes online discussions can get pretty heated, and it's easy to resort to personal attacks instead of engaging in meaningful dialogue.
Right.
How do we navigate those choppy waters?
Well, the report suggests that digital communities need to establish clear guidelines that promote respectful communication and discourage harmful behavior.
Okay.
And these guidelines need to be enforced consistently by community moderators.
So it's about setting ground rules for online interactions and making sure everyone plays by them.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of respect and inclusivity where everyone feels safe to share their thoughts and opinions without fear of being attacked or harassed.
That makes a lot of sense, but I imagine moderating these online spaces can be a tricky job, especially with so much content being generated constantly.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
The report acknowledges that moderation is a complex and often challenging task,
Yeah.
but it also argues that strong moderation is essential for creating thriving digital communities.
Okay, so we've got echo chambers and the need for respectful communication. Any other potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
Well, another big one is information overload.
Oh, yeah.
It's something we all struggle with in the digital age. We're constantly bombarded with news notifications, social media updates, and it can be overwhelming to keep up with it all.
Tell me about it. Sometimes I feel like I need a digital detox just to stay sane.
Yeah.
But how does this information overload problem specifically relate to digital communities?
The report suggests that when you're part of multiple online communities, it can be really tough to manage the sheer volume of content coming at you.
Right.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
That's a perfect analogy. I've
Well,
definitely felt that way before. So are we just doomed to drown in a sea of digital content, or are there ways to manage this information overload?
the report offers some helpful strategies for staying afloat. One is to be more intentional about the communities you join.
Okay.
Don't feel obligated to join every group or follow every influencer.
Right.
Choose the ones that are truly valuable to you and align with your interests and goals.
So quality over quantity when it comes to digital communities.
Exactly. And another important strategy is to set boundaries around your digital consumption.
Okay.
Designate specific times for checking notifications and engaging in online discussions. And don't be afraid to disconnect completely when you need a break.
That's such good advice. It's so easy to get sucked into the digital world and lose track of time. But sometimes it feels like you have to be constantly connected to keep up with everything.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
But the report argues that it's crucial to prioritize your own well-being and set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And that includes being mindful of the content you consume.
What do you mean by being mindful of the content?
Well, not everything you see online is true or accurate. We need to develop our media literacy skills and become more discerning consumers of information.
Mm-hmm.
Be critical of the sources you encounter, check facts, and be wary of sensationalized headlines.
It's like the old saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Exactly. And with the rise of AI-generated content, it's becoming even harder to distinguish between real and fake. So it's more important than ever to be vigilant.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential downsides of digital communities, but I know you're an optimist at heart.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some of the opportunities these online spaces present?
Well, despite the challenges we've discussed, I truly believe digital communities have the power to be incredibly positive forces in the world.
Okay.
One area where I see immense potential is in social activism and advocacy.
So using these online platforms to raise awareness about important issues and mobilize people to take action.
Exactly. We've already seen how digital communities can amplify marginalized voices and bring attention to injustices that might otherwise go unnoticed. Think of the hashtag #MeToo movement or the Black Lives Matter movement.
Hmm.
Those movements gained incredible momentum through online platforms.
You're right. Those are powerful examples of how digital communities can spark real-world change.
And the report suggests that this is just the beginning.
Mhm.
As digital communities continue to evolve, they'll play an even more important role in driving social change and holding those in power accountable.
That's inspiring. What other opportunities does the report highlight?
Well, it also talks about the potential for digital communities to foster innovation and entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
These online spaces are becoming hubs for sharing ideas, collaborating on projects, and getting feedback from a global network of experts. It's like crowdsourcing innovation on a massive scale.
That's fascinating. So you're saying that these communities can help accelerate the innovation process and lead to breakthroughs that might not have been possible in a traditional setting?
Absolutely. And beyond fostering collaboration, digital communities can also provide access to resources and support for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
There are countless online communities dedicated to helping startups and small businesses grow.
Right.
They offer everything from mentorship and funding opportunities to marketing advice and legal guidance.
It's like having a virtual incubator for your business idea.
Exactly. And the report emphasizes how these digital communities are leveling the playing field for entrepreneurs, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds.
Mm.
They're providing access to resources and opportunities that might not have been available to them otherwise.
I love that. It's not just about making money, it's about empowering people to create their own opportunities and build a better future for themselves and their communities.
That's exactly right. And this ties into another incredible opportunity that the report highlights: the potential for digital communities to foster a sense of belonging and purpose.
This is such an important point. In today's world, where so many people feel isolated and disconnected, finding a sense of belonging can be life-changing.
Absolutely. The report argues that digital communities can provide that sense of connection and community that's often lacking in our offline lives.
Right.
They can help us find our tribe, connect with people who share our interests and values, and feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
It's like finding your digital home away from home.
Exactly.
But is it only about finding people who are just like you, or is there room for connecting with people from different backgrounds and experiences?
That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It's not just about finding people who mirror your own views. It's also about connecting with people who are different from you, learning from their experiences and expanding your horizons.
So it's about embracing diversity and building bridges across cultures and communities.
Exactly. The report suggests that this is one of the most powerful and transformative aspects of digital communities. They have the potential to break down barriers, foster empathy, and create a more connected and compassionate world.
That's a beautiful vision. But let's be realistic, not all digital communities are created equal, right?
Right.
Some are more welcoming and inclusive than others.
Sure.
Some are more focused on personal growth and development, while others are more geared towards entertainment or social networking.
That's a great point. It's important to recognize that not every digital community will be the right fit for you.
Right.
It's about finding the communities that align with your own values, interests, and goals.
So how do we go about finding the right communities for ourselves?
Well, the report encourages us to be intentional about the communities we join.
Oh, okay.
Think about what you're hoping to get out of your online interactions. Are you looking for a space to learn, connect, create, or advocate for a cause you care about?
So it's kind of like choosing your friends wisely, but in the digital realm.
Exactly. And once you've identified your goals,
Mhm.
do some research.
Hmm.
Look for communities that align with your interests and have a positive and supportive culture.
Okay.
Read reviews, check out their social media presence, and even reach out to existing members to get a feel for the community vibe.
So it's worth taking the time to find the right fit. But let's say I've found a few communities that seem promising. What's next? How do I actually get involved and start making connections?
Well, that's where we'll pick up in part 3 of our deep dive. We'll be sharing practical tips and strategies for navigating those first interactions,
Yeah.
building your online presence, and making the most of these incredible resources.
Stay tuned. It sounds like we're about to get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually make these digital communities work for us.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've explored like this vast landscape of digital communities, the good, the bad, and the potentially world-changing.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Yeah.
But now let's get down to brass tacks.
Mhm.
How do we as individuals actually navigate this new world and make it work for us? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And luckily, this report doesn't just leave us hanging with a bunch of, high-level concepts. It
Yeah.
actually dives into some practical tips and strategies for thriving in these digital spaces.
Okay, so let's say I've done my research. I found a few communities that seem like a good fit. What's next? Like, how do I actually make a good first impression? Is there some kind of secret digital handshake I need to know?
Uh-huh. No secret handshake required.
Okay.
But there are definitely some unspoken rules of etiquette that can help you navigate those initial interactions.
Okay.
First and foremost, read the community guidelines.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Every community has its own set of rules and norms.
Right.
Some are more formal than others, but it's crucial to understand what's expected before jumping in.
Makes sense. You don't want to accidentally break any digital social norms. But once you've got the lay of the land, how do you actually start participating in a meaningful way?
Well, the report stresses the importance of quality over quantity. Don't just spam the community with self-promotional content or irrelevant links.
Right.
Instead, focus on adding value.
Hmm.
Share insightful comments. Ask thoughtful questions. Contribute to the conversation in a way that shows you're genuinely interested in the community and its members.
So it's about being a good digital citizen,
Yeah.
basically.
And remember, building relationships takes time.
Yeah.
Don't expect to become an instant influencer or thought leader overnight.
Right.
Engage authentically, be patient, and focus on fostering genuine connections with people who share your interests.
Okay, that's all good advice, but I think a lot of people listening are probably wondering, how do I actually make these digital communities work for me?
Right.
How do I go from being a passive observer to actively benefiting from these connections?
That's a great question. And the report offers some interesting perspectives on this.
Okay.
One key takeaway is to be clear about your goals. What are you hoping to gain from these communities? Are you looking for collaboration opportunities, mentorship, job leads? Once you know what you want, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and let the community know.
So update your profile, participate in relevant discussions, maybe even reach out to specific members whose work you admire.
Exactly. Networking in the digital age is all about being proactive and putting yourself out there. But it's also important to remember that building relationships is a two-way street.
Right.
The more you give to the community, the more you'll get back.
Mm.
Be helpful, supportive, and generous with your knowledge and expertise.
So it's not just about what you can take from the community, it's also about what you can contribute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads into another important point the report makes: building an online presence.
Okay, here's where I get a little intimidated. Does that mean I need a perfectly curated Instagram feed and thousands of followers to be taken seriously in these communities?
Not at all. The report actually emphasizes authenticity over perfection.
Oh.
People can spot a phony a mile away.
Right.
Focus on showcasing your unique skills and interests in a genuine way.
Yeah.
Let your personality shine through.
So no need to pretend to be someone I'm not, just be myself and let the right people find me.
Exactly. Share your passions, your projects, your insights. Let the community see the real you. And as we're building a following, it's not about chasing vanity metrics.
Okay.
Focus on connecting with people who genuinely resonate with your work and your message.
Quality over quantity again.
You got it. Engage with others, participate in discussions, share valuable content, and the right people will find you organically.
Okay, so I'm feeling more confident about putting myself out there, but I have to admit, juggling multiple online communities, staying active, keeping up with all the content, it can be a bit overwhelming. Any tips for staying organized and sane in this digital whirlwind?
Definitely. It's easy to get sucked into the vortex of notifications and updates. One strategy the report suggests is prioritization.
Okay.
You don't have to be equally active in every community all the time.
Right.
Choose a few that are most aligned with your current goals and focus your energy there.
So be strategic about my digital community involvement.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to unsubscribe or mute notifications if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's okay to step back and recharge when you need to.
Right.
You can always jump back in when you're feeling more energized.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to feel pressured to be on all the time in the digital world,
Right.
but taking breaks is essential for our mental health and well-being.
Absolutely. And speaking of working smarter, the report also encourages us to leverage technology to our advantage.
Hmm.
Use tools like Trello or Asana to manage your tasks. Set reminders for important deadlines. and streamline your workflow.
So it's all about working smarter, not harder in the digital realm too.
Precisely.
Yeah,
And finally, remember to take those breaks we talked about.
right.
Step away from the screen, engage in offline activities, connect with people in real life.
Yeah.
It's important to maintain a healthy balance between your digital and physical worlds.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
It's been a whirlwind tour of the future of digital communities, the possibilities, the challenges, the practical tips for making it all work for us.
Yeah, it really have.
As we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
For me, it's this. Digital communities have the power to truly enrich our lives in countless ways. Whether you're seeking knowledge, connection support, or opportunities for growth, there's a digital community out there waiting to welcome you.
So take the leap, find your tribe, and embrace the possibilities of this new era of connection.
That's the spirit. And remember, the future of digital communities is in our hands. Let's create spaces that are welcoming, inclusive, and empowering for everyone.
Well said. And that concludes our deep dive into the rise of digital communities in 2025, a new era of connection.
We hope this exploration has been insightful and inspiring and maybe even a little bit life-changing.
I think so. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of digital communities.